Hi guys, we're back for lesson 1.9. We've already graphed inverses. Now we're going to learn how to write them algebraically. So our learning target is that I can write the inverse of functions algebraically. To be successful, we need to be able to change the f of x to y, switch the x and the y coordinates, solve for y, and then write the inverse in function notation. So let's start with this first example. We've got this f of x for step 1. We have to change that f of x to y, and then we just rewrite everything else. For step 2, we're going to switch the x and the y with each other. So we got x is equal to 2y minus 5. And now we simply solve for y. So we need to move this one to the other side by using inverses. Remember, the opposite of, or the inverse of subtracting, we want to add. This gives us 0. We can't add x and 5, so we're going to say x plus 5 is equal to 2y. And then our final step is to divide by 2 because we want to do that, undo the multiplication of 2 and y. We divide this side and we end up with y, this gives us 1, is equal to x plus 5 divided by 2. And then for our final step, we're going to rewrite it in function notation. So you're basically changing this y to the inverse function of x. So inverse function of x is equal to x plus 5 divided by 2. And that's it. That's the inverse of our original function. All right, let's go ahead and try this next one. First step, we want to change h of x to y. And now we're going to switch for step 2, the x to y and the y to the x. And then now we're going to solve for y. Here we have to undo that division by 3 first, which means we're going to multiply both sides by 3. To undo dividing by 3, we do its inverse, which is multiply. So now let's go ahead and simplify. 3x is equal to 7y. Now we're going to use the inverse of addition, which is subtraction, and we end up with 3x minus 4 equals to 7y. This gives us 0. And then our final step is to divide by 7. And we get 3x minus 4 divided by 7 is equal to y. And then for our final step, we need to write it in inverse function notation. So instead of y, we're going to change that to the inverse function of f. And then we simply write down the equation, or the inverse equation. Okay, go ahead and try the next. All right, so let's go ahead and start with changing g of x to. Now we're going to switch the x and y coordinate. Now let's solve for y. Notice how on this one, the 4 is only the denominator to the 1, so we can't remove that one yet, like we did this one. This one, all of it was being divided by 3, so we had to get rid of that one first. So over here, we want to undo that subtraction by 2 by adding 2. That x plus 2 is 1/4 y. And now, because it's being divided by 4, we're going to multiply each side by 4. So 1/4 times 4 gives us 1. And now we distribute that 4. We get 4x. And then 4 times 2 is 8. And finally, we want to rewrite our function in function notation, inverse function in function notation. Change that y to the inverse function of x, and then we simply write our equation. Go ahead and do some practice. Have fun.